Hello, everybody. Hope
Hi, Coach.
everybody had a great weekend. A happy Thanksgiving. Mark, I'll get started here if it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Really proud of the guys. They had a great effort. The number 2 team in the country. They were really good as advertised. It's 2 of the best lines of scrimmage, 2 deep. I mean, they lose their starting center, they lose their starting right guard, and the guys that came in played really well. So I'm excited for Brian Kelly and where he is after 10, 11 years in his program. They've won 10 games, I think 6 years in a row now, or 6 out of the 10 he's been there. And those guys are really good. And you start looking at both their lines of scrimmage are great. Their receivers are like tight ends. Their tight ends are the best in the country, I think. And Ian Book is amazing. He, in my estimation, he should be in the Heisman race. He's won 23 or 29. He's lost 3. We had opportunities to get him on the ground time and time again and couldn't. And then he made 2 or 3 key plays where he just flips the ball with his left hand. And the last one that he completed to the tight end, Chaz hits him as he's throwing it on the right side. It's an amazing play that I was just shocked that he did it. And at the same time, we as poorly as we played offensively the second half, with 5 minutes left to go, we've got them backed up at the 10 in a 7-point game with a chance to win when they hit the run and got it out to the 50, and that pretty much put it away. But with 6 minutes to go, we're at the 38-yard line going in with the ball with a chance to win the game. So we had our chances. It's very disappointing that we didn't close better. It shows us exactly what our concerns are, and it exposes you when you're playing someone that's that good, and you have to step up. The other thing I think that's good is last year we come close to Clemson. Clemson probably wasn't very interested, and we end up and people thought, oh, that's good. We hung in there. And this year people are mad that we played Notre Dame when Notre Dame was interested. They were focused and played a great ball game. So I do think that we have raised expectations for a program, and that's good. If your fans aren't mad after a win, I get mad after a win. That's why I'm not very good at press conference after a win, because I'm emotional and I'm upset and I'm mad. And I did learn through many years at Texas that when you're mad at a press conference after the game, don't say things that you're not really sure about. And that's why I sat there and said, I want to watch the video, and I want to see, and I want Phil to talk to you, and I want Jay to talk to you, because that's what we have them here for. But in certain cases in my past, I've said so-and-so stunk, and he didn't. He really played well. It just looked like a few plays that he stunk. So I want to make sure that what I'm telling you is facts. And that's why I wait and try to get it right. Proud of the guys, the way they've handled COVID, and the staff. It's a mess everywhere. Games being canceled and moved. We will get our test results back tonight again from yesterday. Could be bad. We know that, but our guys have really done well, and our staff. And I'm really proud of the way that they've taken it very seriously, and they've worked hard to try to make sure that, number one, we're safe, and number two, that we get to continue to play. I've asked our guys to make sure that no games are canceled because of us. And that's something that we're really working hard to do. I'll talk about the positive things first. I know we'll get to the others because you're anxious about the negative things, and that's part of what press conferences are about. I learned that not only at Texas, but in my 5 years out. It's what we need to fix, not what we did well normally. Special teams that have been struggling throughout the year had by far their best game. Ben Kiernan was unbelievable. His ability with his soccer background from Ireland to kick it away from the returner really helped us with field position at a day where they punted us inside the 4 twice. So he did just an amazing job. We covered really well, and so proud of him. I think he averaged about 50 yards per punt and punted some down inside. So he had a 62-yard punt maybe, but he was really good. Jonathan Kim continues to maybe be the best in the nation at kicking kickoffs out. And then the one that he didn't kick out with their 4-4 return guy, we came down British Brooks and Kadri Jackson make great plays and hit him and stop him short of the 20. And then Grayson Atkins, he's made 6 out of his last 7, I think, field goals, and he was 100% on Saturday. The 2 guys that stood out the most in special teams were British Brooks, who's about that guy every week, and Obi Buna, who is becoming a special team star. He is playing really well. He's found his role there, and he steps up and plays well. Defensively, we played our best game. I wasn't sure that the way that teams like Florida State and Virginia and even Virginia Tech knocked us off the ball, that we would be able to hang in there with this team because they're by far the best offensive line we've played. And our front 7 did a good job. It was our front 7 against their front 7, and they stood up and far from being great, but we held them to about our average till that last run, which was going to be about 150 yards rushing. And with this football team against theirs, I thought the guys did well. We tackled well. We still got to play the ball better because they're big receivers. We were there and didn't make the plays a couple of times, and we've got to improve in that area. Don Chapman had one go right over his head that he's in position to intercept, and same thing with Tony on one ball where he gets an interference call down in the end. But we had our chances. Still not getting enough sacks. We only got 2 out of Book, but I think a lot of that credit goes to Book because we were there, and he just is very elusive. And we're not forcing turnovers. I mean, it's amazing you can win games without forcing turnovers, but we're not turning the ball over. So that probably is saving us in that area. The 3 players that played the best on defense, and a lot of guys played well, were Tamon Fox. Chaz Surratt had his best game as a linebacker by far, and Ray Vohasek. Those 3 guys were the 3 best players. And we don't have players of the game when we lose, but I do think that it's unfair to the guys that played so well not to mention their names if they've had a great game, even in losses. Offensively, I thought, as always, the coaches had a great plan to start the game. I think we've scored about every first drive, maybe except one ball game all year. The first half was really, really good offensively. We went into halftime feeling good, and we came back out, and what I thought happened, and after the game, it happened. Their front 7 whipped our front 7, and we lost a bunch of one-on-one battles. So as players and coaches, we've got to go back and look at it. Could we have helped them more? We didn't give Sam time. Our advantages were our speed in their secondary, and we couldn't get the ball to them enough because of the sacks. Now, 2 of the sacks were runs that were tackles for loss, but we didn't have breakdowns. We had people get run over, and we got to get stronger. This is a great test for us to show us, if you want to be a national team, this is who you got to be. And we're not there yet. So we'll have another opportunity to show that in 2 weeks when we play Miami, because they're a national team. And right now we're not. We're a good team. We're a better team. We're a team that's improving. We're a team that's getting better. But we were not able to pull off the big upset when we had an opportunity to do it with even 5 minutes left to go in that game. The player that played the best on offense was Daz Newsome. He was very elusive in space. They couldn't tackle him, and he got us out of trouble 2 or 3 different times. So really, really proud of him. We talk about penalties each week. It's something that we've got to improve. I wrote them down for you this week. It's something I took all the penalties for the year by position, by player, and we're looking at them specifically to see who and why. And if a guy's not good enough to have 5 penalties for this year, then we won't play him. I mean, we've told them. We have officials that practice every day. We call out the penalties every day, and it's time that we stopped. Part of the reason you have penalties against a really good team, especially holding penalties up front, is when they're better than you are, and you can't block them. You have to hold them to try to keep them from getting to your quarterback, and that happened some on Saturday. because they're so quick and so good up front. So we had 2 holding calls. One of them, usually when you have a holding call or a sack, you lose a possession. And that's very, very difficult. And obviously that was the story of the second half. That's why we didn't move the ball and had to punt so much. But we had 2 holding penalties. We had a false start that took us from a 3rd and 5 to a 3rd and 9. And we were atrocious on 3rd downs on Saturday, because that's the best thing Notre Dame does when they get you in long yardage situations. And then we had one unsportsmanlike conduct where actually their guy pushed ours and we pushed back. So it probably should have been offsetting penalties when you look at that, and they'll look at that today. We had an offsides by a big freshman, redshirt freshman nose tackle that's inexcusable. You listen to the voice inflection instead of you're right there in front of the ball. I've always thought, I didn't play nose tackle, but how can you move when the ball's right in front of you? Watch the ball, man. Come off on the ball. Don't listen to the voice. We had a holding call with the ball thrown up in the seats, and that was because we grabbed the jersey with the defensive back. We had a pass interference where the ball was overthrown again, and the guy's out of bounds, and we push him with the left arm instead of just turning our back and playing it. So those are things that we've got to learn. And then we didn't play the ball on another deep ball with a defensive back that was pass interference as well. And then the offsides on the 4th and 1, that's one that you just got to look at and see what you think. We obviously can't, we can't be in a position to even be called, because that was one that we should have known what was happening. Some people have asked, why are we playing Western Carolina? It was a 10+1 to start the year when we redid the schedules with the ACC. So they asked you to play one out of conference game. We wanted to play an in-state team if we could. Charlotte was not able to come because of COVID. So then we said, okay, we just won't play another one. And the ACC office told us that we needed to play another one because we had promised so many TV exposures. So then we thought we'd play it the week before Notre Dame, and we couldn't because that was finals week. And we couldn't even practice that week. We even had some finals on Friday and Saturday. So this is why this game got put back here where it is. Coach Spire's done a good job. I think he played with Lonnie Galloway. He's really good friends with Lonnie and Stacy Searles. I think he coached with Stacy at Appalachian State. They've got a really good running back with Donovan Spencer. They blitz a lot on defense. They're not going to be as good as us. They're going to play hard because they like us playing against Notre Dame. They'll be excited about coming to Chapel Hill, and they've done this. They've gone to Tuscaloosa. This isn't new for them. It's a strange year for them in that they're only playing 3 games. Then they'll play their conference games in the spring. But the biggest thing for us is we got to get ready to play. And we can't be the up and down team that we've been some this year. And for our program to get where it needs to be, we've got to be excited about practicing every day and playing every day, regardless of who the opponent is. And this is also senior day. So we sat down at open date with all of our seniors and juniors that could possibly go to the NFL. And we tried to give them as much information as we could. If you're coming back, here's how much we think you would play right now. If you want to graduate and go into the business world, we'll help you get a job. If you want to graduate and be a graduate transfer, we'll help you transfer somewhere else. And the kids have been great. Everybody's been really honest and upfront. It's been fair. It's been very transparent. And also with the seniors that could come back with the NCAA rule this year, we've just asked them, any of you that want to come back, we'd love to have you. If you don't, we'll help you get somewhere else. So the most important thing is that the guys get their degrees, and that's what this whole transition period is about. Questions?
All right, thanks, Coach. If you have a question, please use the raised hand function. And our first question today will come from Dina King. Go ahead, Dina.
Coach, piggybacking on what you said about Western, in your experience as a head coach, how challenging is it to, in a week like this, to get your group to be focused at a high level?
Well, Dana, it's about your culture. It's about your process. It's not going to be hard because our guys have to go back to work. And their goal is to be as good as a Notre Dame, to be as good as a Clemson. That's who we want to be, and we're not there. So every day that you practice, you got to practice against Notre Dame. You got to practice against Clemson. You got to practice against a team like Miami that is a top 10 team. And by doing that, then you're ready to play each week. And I think that's the big thing. And people will say, well, this game's not important. Well, try to lose it. And then it becomes important. So they're all important. And we need to play our best. The other thing that I've told guys for my 40-something years in coaching is if you go out to practice not ready to practice, you'll get hurt. You don't get to play anymore. You go into a game on Saturday and you're not ready to play, you get hurt because you're staying around, because Western's going to be excited. So get excited. We've got some things we've got to fix. We need to build on the progress that we made on defense, and we've got to go back and do a better job on offense. So and continue to improve on special teams, because we've got 3 games left, hopefully, here as we look at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go over to Brian Keys, please.
Hey, Mack, just with Saturday being the last home game for the seniors and the guys who are leaving, what's the mood in the locker room like? I know this year was weird with not really having fans in attendance.
Brian, the saddest thing for this year is just that. I mean, for football, I mean, we've got a pandemic, we've got people that are sick, people that have lost their lives, family members, we got people that don't have jobs, and people that are evicted. I mean, we've got a mess. And it seems like it's getting worse right now. But for our team, they've been very safe. And I think they appreciate that. They've had vitamins and nutrition, and they've had doctors around them. We get tested 3 days a week. So the team could be in is right here. I mean, that's Sally doesn't even go to the away games. I drive home and back. Because we're all trying to make sure that we stay safe. So I would say that they're probably worn out mentally, because we started August 6th, and we'll go these next 2 weeks, and then we won't know until December 20th, the way I understand it, where we're playing in a bowl game. So we'll probably let them go home for 4 or 5 days to get a mental break. But we're trying to make Senior Day really special for them, understanding that it's not going to be like a normal Senior Day, Brian, but the seniors we're still going to have a senior banquet Sunday night after Miami. It'll be in the Blues Home, and it'll be just with our team, where they can have captains and awards, but we'll still have it. And Saturday, since the parents can't come down on the field because it's an NCAA rule, nobody can be on the field outside of your football family. The parents are going to send a video message to their sons while they walk out on the field. So we're trying our best to make a very difficult situation better. But so sad Friday that we didn't have 50-something thousand people screaming in that stadium. It would have been the best crowd I've ever seen in that stadium was when we played Florida State in 97. This one would have been just like it, and it could have helped us. So sorry that our fans have not been able to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question comes from Ross Martin.
Hey, Mack, I know it's just Monday, but I mean, entering the Western Carolina game, is there an approach or a plan to play backups more, to play younger players? Do you have a plan in place for if you do get up early on the first half, third quarter?
Ross, it'll sound like coach speak, but you do whatever you need to do to win the game. And then if you get in a position like we have in some other games this year, then you can substitute. Weirdly enough, we're substituting so many young ones on defense now that probably won't change that much. The substitutions would be more on offense, because you'd like to get your backup quarterback some work. And but right now, the most important thing is you got to win the game. Like I said, go into this one, lose it, and that's a different conversation next Monday.
Yeah, it was very coach speak there. Okay, then building on that.
It was a very dumb question too, Ross, because you knew the answer.
This is public, Mac. You can't say this type of things to me.
Excuse me.
All right. Well, then with the young defensive players, what have you seen from the freshmen that really stood out and the young players, especially against Notre Dame? You started 2 freshmen on defense, I think, and played a lot more. Anything that stood out to you from the Notre Dame game?
Yes, the 4 guys really, and the red shirt freshmen, if you count Kevin Hester, but Clyde Pender, Miles Murphy, Desmond Evans, and Kamen Rucker all stood in there and held their own. They did a good job. And then you look up and you've got a high school senior in Tony Grimes playing corner, and you've got a nickel Jaquarius Conley that's playing at the same time. And probably the hardest lick of the game was Jaquarius Conley on Ian Book at one time. So future's really, really bright with these guys, and we've just got to keep playing them. It was, we talked about it so much early. We should be playing them more, and why aren't we? And now we just turned it loose, and we have them on a rotation. I thought both Javon DeWitt and Tim Cross did a good job of rotating those guys early and often, and that's one of the reasons we didn't get beaten down in the defensive line. We stayed fresh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go over to CL Brown.
Hi, Mack. With Tony Grimes, obviously he should, or by all accounts, would be a senior in high school. What was kind of your vision for when he enrolled early and came? What was kind of your vision of how this season would go for him? I mean, would you figure he would be in a role as big as he was against Notre Dame, as big as a game as that was?
CL, it happened so quickly that it was kind of thrown on us because I've never seen this happen. So they cancel high school football for the fall in Virginia, and then his parents call and say, well, we'd like to come now. He's gotten his academics where he can graduate this summer. Then we had to get approval from the NCAA. We had to get approval from our compliance. We had to get admissions involved. And thank goodness he's a very good student, so that wasn't an issue. So we didn't know till probably the week before August that he was actually going to be able to come. And then he gets here, and you got to find roommates for him because he doesn't have a class and he doesn't know anybody. And then you've never been on the field with him, so you worry about his strength. He's a high school senior, so you worry about him being homesick. You worry about he's not quite as strong as some of the other guys because he's just not older. He's so young. So Dre and Jay got together with his family and with him and started talking about, let's bring you along slow. Let's let you play some special teams. Let's get you more involved each week. And then at some point, maybe we're going to be able to get you some more time. And basically both groups said, let's just not count this as a year. Let's just let this thing go and let's get anything we can get out of it. But you haven't been through spring practice. You're not older, but let's don't put pressure on Tony to play. And then he's just done well enough that he just continues to get better. And I thought he played really, really well on Saturday for the circumstances. And the other concern with Dre and Jay, which I think was appropriate, is that you put him out there too early and he gets burned and then he gets discouraged. And I didn't see that happening on Saturday. They attacked him a few times, and I thought he held his own pretty good.
And in terms of overall talent level, how far do you feel up? I remember before the game, you were saying you felt like you guys were a few plays off of being undefeated coming into that game, being a top 10 versus top 10 kind of game. How far do you feel like you guys are off as a program talent-wise in the two deep to where you go into a game and you feel like you're measuring up against a top 5 opponent like that, like you have the same amount of talent?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. They just lined up and whipped us the second half. So I mean that's defensively, it's the frustrating thing for me, CL, is we haven't played a full game. You go back to our defense played well enough to win on Saturday. We'd like more sacks, we'd like more turnovers, but they played well enough to win. our kicking game played well enough to win. Our offense played a half and then got dominated the second half. So we couldn't block those guys the second half. And that's the front seven. That's backs. That's tight ends. They lined up and whipped us. So we've got to get better. We've got to play better each week. We need to get stronger as a football team, and we've got to have more confidence to be able to pull off wins like that. The recruiting is taking care of itself. We're going to get there, but we're 2 years into a process that is a complete turnaround.
Thanks,
So we're
man.
not near there yet.
Okay, our next question comes from Jared Fielko.
Mack, you mentioned some of the oddities that will encompass this week's senior day. Just curious, because of the NCAA mandate that this year does not count in terms of eligibility, is there a discussion that you're going to have with some of these seniors about whether or not they do want to come back? Because I know they don't count against the scholarships, but the NCAA didn't mandate that all schools have to, honor those scholarship agreements. Is there some kind of conversation you're going to have, or can you conceivably see some of these seniors that are being honored out there coming back for another year next year?
Yeah, Jared, it's been direct, hard conversations in the 2 years that we've been here. And basically what the young people and us have decided is, if you're not playing, you want to play and you're working really hard, let's get your degree and we'll help you get somewhere else if you want to keep playing. And that's what it's been. If they're playing, it's not any discussion. They can come back. If they're not playing, they don't want to come back, but they want to get a degree from North Carolina. So that's more than anything else. Kids want to play. And even some of the younger ones, if they're not getting to play at all, or they're not having an active role, or even if they're playing some and they think they should be starting, we've told them that's your right. We're going to be honest with you. We're going to be fair. If your coach and I don't think you're ready to do that and you want to do that, I got it. We'll help you. So we've tried to be as honest as we possibly can as a group. And these kids have been incredible. They get it. They said, hey, if we're not playing, I don't want to be here. Why would you work as hard as these kids work and not play? You need to play. And it's not, some people would say it's the Larry players and the new staff players. It's not, it's who's playing. And that's what we've got to get down to. So I think the biggest thing is that we're in a really good place mentally with these guys, and with the honesty. We're going to help anyone who's not playing here that wants to leave, whether he's graduating or not. I hope they graduate. That would be better. But if a young one wants to leave, then we're going to get on the phone and we're going to call the schools he'd be interested in and tell the coaches why they're not playing here. It may be that there's a lot better player in front of them and they're good enough to play. But we're committed to trying to help every player. I thought Roscoe Johnson's one that comes to mind. He's played some at Louisville this year. He wouldn't have had a chance to play as much with our receiving corps because they're really good. But Roscoe was able to go to the bowl with us. He transferred. He went back to his old coach in Gunnar Brewer, and he's happy and playing at Louisville. We stay in touch with him. So I know Cade Thornton, he hurt his shoulder, and I had a text conversation with him down at South Florida. So KJ Sales and I have gone back and forth some with conversation. So you try to help the young guys because it's about them, and then you try to keep in touch with them after they leave.
Thanks, Mack.
Thank you.
Coach Brown, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day.
All right, gang, we got Coach Longo coming up. Morning.
Morning, Coach. Thanks for joining us again today. Group, if you have a question, please use the raise hand function. We will get to you momentarily. And we'll begin with Greg Barnes.
Hey, Phil, thanks for joining us. Just kind of wanted your take on the offense's struggles there, really, I guess, starting in the second quarter, and what Notre Dame did to kind of shut the team down and the struggles in trying to adjust to that.
So I would tell you that the game plan we had for the 2 weeks preparing for them pretty much went how we thought it would in the first half. I mean, we were pleased with the first half. We had 5 drives. We had 2 touchdowns and a field goal, so we scored on 3 of the 5. We had 2 drives that started at our own 3-yard line, and one of them we weren't able to get out. The other one we were. I think we wound up punting them to their 16-yard line on that one. So we were happy. We knew it was going to be a physical battle. We knew we were going to have to trigger the ball quickly. We knew we were going to have to establish, a little bit of a run game early on, to be able to do the things that we wanted to do. And so the first half really went the way we expected, to be honest with you. And so, truthfully, at halftime, I did not feel a need to change the plan at all. I mean, we talked about things we wanted to do in the run game and things we wanted to continue to attack Notre Dame with, but the plan was working. So I would say about 3 drives into the third quarter, we really continued with that plan. And, it really came down to us physically just not getting it done at the level that we did in the first half, in the second half.
What were they doing so well to take away the run in the second half?
We manufactured some 6 boxes that we really should have been more productive on, and we weren't, and those were tough downs because you stressed them on the perimeter and you stressed them down the field, and we got them to expand number 6 a little bit more than he has in the past or in this season, which you would think would help us in the run game. So we're blocking 6 on 6, and that wasn't as productive as we would have liked it to be. And that's really, it made the difference in the second half. They played more physical football than we did.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go over to Dina King.
Hey, Coach, at this level, what is more difficult for players to master, run or pass blocking, and why?
That's a tough. I'm curious. I don't know what Coach Zeros would tell you. I think they're both difficult. I think run blocking probably is a little less difficult. Pass protection has a tendency to put you on an island one-on-one. It's not quite as aggressive in nature, So I think just in general, I would say pass protection and pass blocking from a technique standpoint and an athletic standpoint is a greater challenge than being a good run blocker.
Follow up, where's your group now compared to where you want them to be?
Well, I don't know that they're ever where you want them to be. You always want to be better. You take a look at what you do from a pass pro standpoint and a run game standpoint. And when you have 5 linemen and all 5 of them are doing something on every play, you can find something you want to be better at. And that, our guys have done a great job over the course of the last 2 years of continually improving week to week. And when you play games like this, sometimes it will expose or reveal something that you want to spend more time on or emphasize. And so that's what we need to do from this Notre Dame game is take what we did not do well and emphasize that, make sure that the next time we're in that same situation, we're able to perform a little bit more, a little bit higher level.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, our next question comes from Ross Martin.
Hey, Phil, was there anything that Notre Dame did on defense, whether that be schematically or just physically, that surprised you more so in the game than you did kind of preparing for them?
No, not truthfully. No, I don't think we thought we were going to be able to get 6 away from the box as early as we did, and that was part of the equation to having some run success in the first half. So I think they gave us some respect in the passing game earlier than maybe I expected it to happen. we thought that if our plan was going well, that obviously, coach of the DC there does a fantastic job of countering things. But we thought, based on what was in their wheelhouse, what they had done over the last 2 years, we would either see more cover one, more man coverage, or we would see more pressure. And I think in the second half, the latter is what we saw. We saw more pressure as a result of some of the success that we had in the first half.
Well, Coach, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for your time.
All right. Thank you. Y'all have a good week.
Hey, Coach, doing well. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Group, if you have a question for Coach Bateman, please use the raised hand function. And today's first question will come from Jacob Turner.
Hey Jay, you obviously played a lot of guys on Friday against Notre Dame on defense, except at the middle linebacker position where Jeremiah Gimel and Chaz play. What's the situation right now with depth at that position? And is it just kind of a situation where Chaz and Jeremiah are so crucial to what you guys do that you just can't afford to take them out?
Yeah, so we've had this discussion with Kadri Jackson and Eugene Asante, who are their backups, who I think are really good players. I have a hard time taking those two off the field, and we talk about it every week. And I guess the way you phrased it is probably right. With that, we feel like those two are really important to us, and so we're going to let them play a lot.
Okay. Quick follow-up question too, Jay. Desmond Evans got most of his snaps on Friday kind of early and didn't play too much after that. I think he ended up with like 11 snaps or something like that. What do you like about where he's at right now? And what are some things that you're looking for him to kind of improve on moving forward?
Yeah, I like a lot of things about where he's at. He started the game, he played really well. There were some schematical things that he didn't do well that we kind of got fixed. And then just the way the game was flowing, I feel like Notre Dame kind of adjusted a little bit. We probably should have put him back in a little bit more at the end, to be honest with you. But I think early on, he did a really good job of helping us get edges set. And I think that's, he's going to be a tremendous player.
Thanks, Jay.
Yep.
Okay, let's go over to Ross Martin, please.
Hey, Jay, what went into the decision to start Tony Grimes, I guess over Patrice Renee? What happened there? Can you explain that?
We kind of felt against Wake Forest. He was really, it was very obvious early on that Tony's really talented, right? So it was a matter of we're going to bring him along to a point where we feel like he's ready to go, and it might be this year, it might be next year. And then after the Wake Forest game, we just felt like it was time for him to go play, and I thought he played really well.
Yeah, and can you elaborate?
I've kind of always looked at it like this, Ross. Like, I try really hard. When we make a decision to change who's playing more than somebody else, because Patrice played also. I try to do it based on when I think the person who's behind is playing better, and we just felt like Tony was playing better.
Yeah, and to elaborate on that, what did you see from Tony on tape that he did well, or maybe some areas that you definitely think he needs to improve on? Can you evaluate his performance against Notre Dame? I thought he did really well. I think they went after him a little bit in the one drive. You got the pass interference call, which I think is, like every defense coordinator, a little questionable. But I thought he did a really, really good job. He's really smart. Football makes sense to him, and I'm really glad he's here. And in general, can you kind of evaluate how you think your defense performed against Notre Dame? Any broad kind of takeaways from the tape review?
I think we communicated better. I thought we defended the run better. I thought we were more consistent in our run fundamentals. And I thought we kind of settled down in the second half. I think we can play a lot better.
Thanks.
Okay, let's move over to Greg Barnes.
Good morning, Jay. You've highlighted before that when this team executes the way it needs to defensively, it can be really good. And that some of the games where it struggled just because of communication lapses and some other things. What's the key in kind of building that consistency so you have more performances like you did on Friday?
I think part of it is consistency in the secondary. We've had to move some guys around, and that probably has affected a little bit. And then I got to do a better job preparing them. A lot of it comes down to me and getting them ready to go. But I feel like we did take a step forward in the communication. I I told him yesterday when we first started watching it together, I said, this was a very clean game for us, as far as there wasn't a bunch of snaps where like, well, I thought it was this, or I thought it was that. Like we were all on the same page. And I think that when we do that, we have a chance to win.
And Mack said he thought this may have been Chaz's best game.
Yeah, I mean, so I think what you saw Saturday was Chaz playing linebacker like he's going to have to play at the next level. Right? He I thought he did a really good job taking on blocks, holding the point, not trying to run around things and just make every play. Understand that. That's what you want out of a player. But I thought he did a really good job of kind of doing his job at times. Fundamentally, I thought he played like a linebacker fundamentally really well. And I agree with Coach Brown. I think he played really well.
And how frustrating or difficult is it as a defensive coordinator to go back and look at film of Ian Book doing some of those circus acts?
I mean, Ian Book's 29-3. He's a really good player. And, our kids were absolutely prepared for how good a player he was. We did a lot of things schematically to try to limit him. Some were more successful than others, but he gives them a chance to win every single game. He's a really good player. I'm glad he's a fifth-year senior.
Thanks, Jay.
Yep.
All right, back over to Ross Martin.
One last one for you here, Jay. You mentioned kind of some of the schematic things that you did differently. I remember last week when Art asked you for the secrets to getting Notre Dame off the field. Were there some things you can tell us that you did differently or maybe switched up that gave Notre Dame a different look that you hadn't showed this year?
So, I mean, we kind of went in the game trying to keep him in the pocket more. I mean, like our kind of thought was, we don't, obviously some snaps were better than others, but I felt like it was going to be really important that whether it was 3 guys rushing or 4 guys rushing, that we try to keep him in the pocket and play coverage. Because I really felt like the people that pressured him during the year got exposed, because when you pressure him and then he gets out, now there's less people to cover, it's math, So I thought that was, schematically the biggest thing we did. They did a good job. They changed their protections on us from what they had done. And kind of, trying to, like a lot of people are trying to block Chaz. And I think once we kind of got that figured out, it helped us. But the main thing we did was just try to contain Ian Book in the pocket. And when he did scramble, have players that could go tackle him. We tried to use Gimel and Surratt and some of those guys to go tackle him when he did pop the pocket,
Was there a noticeable difference in the physicality and just the maturity of Notre Dame's offensive line compared to some of the teams you played so far this year?
I think they're a really good offensive line. I think their tight ends are really good players. I think they're really good. The number 2 team in the country.
All right, thanks.
Well, Coach Bateman, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for your time.
No problem. Thanks, guys.